Before anything else, we would like to greet you all a happy morning, afternoon, or evening. We are here to discuss what happened on the Cavite Mutiny, the two phases of the mutiny, how the three martyr prize got executed, and why it is relevant to know this time of our history. During our elementary days, we already have a clue or knowledge about the important dates in our history, such as year 1896, 1898, or even 1996. But we also have to remember that as equally historic in our history, the year 1872. We must remember that there will no be 1896 Philippine Revolution if there is no happening in the year 1872.
Now let's take a look back on the year 1872, where it has two major events. Firstly, the 1872 Cavite Mutiny. Secondly, the martyrdom of the three priests in the persons of Fathers Mariano Gomez, Josepe Burgos, and Jacinto Zamora, known as GomBurZa. We have mentioned a while ago that we will also discuss about the two phases of the Cavite Mutiny, the Filipino version and the Spanish version. Let us first tackle the Filipino version of the Cavite Mutiny. What is the version of the Filipinos during the Cavite Mutiny and how did Cavite Mutiny happen? Before we dig deep into the versions of the Cavite Mutiny, let us first define what is mutiny. A mutiny is a form of rebellion against authorities. It comes from an old verb, mutine, which means to revolt.
Going back to the Filipino version of the Minute, this version was written by Dr. Trinidad Hermenegildo Pardo de Tavera. He is a Filipino scholar and researcher. According to Dr. Pardo de Tavera, the incident was merely a mutiny by Filipino soldiers and laborers of the Cavite Arsenal to the dissatisfaction arising from the draconian policies of Izquierdo. You may ask, who is Izquierdo? Izquierdo, also known as Rafael Izquierdo y Gutierrez, the Governor-General of the Philippines during that time. When Izquierdo first landed on the Philippines, he introduced some rules and policies. One of the policies is the abolition of the privileges that the Filipino soldiers and arsenal enjoys. What are these privileges? Firstly, the Filipino arsenal are exempted for paying tax. Another is the exemption for forced labor or also known as polo y servicio. Polo y servicio is about the family legal age boys who are forced to do labor whether they like it or not. On top of that, Governor-General Izquierdo also prohibits the founding of School of Arts and Trades.
So, let's try to connect why GomBurZa were prominent Filipino priests charged with treason and sedition. So why they are charged with those criminal acts? Due to the new policies that Governor General Izquierdo, the Filipinos choose to fight for their rights. That's where Cavite Mutiny started. Now, they began the uprising of military personnel in Fort San Felipe, the Spanish arsenal in Cavite, Philippines, on January 20, 1872. Around 200 soldiers and laborers rose up in the belief that it would elevate to a national uprising. However, the mutiny was unsuccessful, and the Spanish government soldiers executed many of the participants. Later on, we will discuss why it was unsuccessful. Now, here comes the GomBurZa Fathers. This is the collective name of the three martyred priests, namely Mariano Gomez, Josepe Burgos, and Jacinto Zamora. Well, of course, if there's a mutiny, there will be a mastermind behind that mutiny. This is where they were falsely accused of being the face of Cavite Mutiny, and that's why these three priests are tagged as the masterminds of the Cavite Mutiny.
Garrote is killing someone by strangulation, typically with an iron wire or cord. Now, let's jump on February 17, 1872. Less than a month after the mutiny, the GomBurZa were executed by garrote in public to serve as a treat to Filipinos never to attempt to fight the Spaniards again. This scene purportedly witnessed by the young Rizal.
We are now done discussing about the Filipino version of the mutiny. Now, let's go and tackle the other version, which is the Spanish version of the Cavite Mutiny. So what is the Spanish version of this mutiny? But before we will learn about it, let's first acknowledge the author of this version, the Spanish version of the Cavite Mutiny. It was written by Jose Montero y Vidal, a prolific Spanish historian, documented the event and highlighted it as an attempt of the Indios to overthrow the Spanish government and the Philippines. Meanwhile, Governor General Rafael Escudero's official report to the King of Spain magnified the event and made use of it to implicate the native clergy, which was then active in the call for secularization. Also, according to the Spanish version, the mutiny was premeditated, a big part of conspiracy among educated leaders, mestizos, lawyers, and residents of Manila and Cavite. They allegedly planned to liquidate high-ranking Spanish officers, then kill friars. On January 20, 1872, apparently, the district of Sampaloc celebrated the feast of the Virgin Loreto. Came with it with some fireworks display. The Caviteños mistook this as the signal to commence with the attack.
200 men was led by Sergeant La Madrid attacked Spanish officer at sight and captured the Arsenal. Izquierdo, upon learning the attack, ordered reinforcement of Spanish forces in Cavite to suppress the revolt.
The revolution was easily crushed when Manileños who were expected to aid the Caviteños did not arrive. In result, leaders of the plot were killed. Father Gomez, Burgos, and Zamora were tried by court-martial and sentenced to be executed. At the same time, other important figures were accused of joining the said mutiny, and they were suspended from the practice of law, arrested, and sentenced to life imprisonment at the Marianas Island.
Versions of Cavite Mutiny. Filipino versions. It's a simple mutiny by the native Filipino soldiers and laborers of the Cavite Arsenal who turned out to be dissatisfied with the abolition of their privilege. Spanish version. Attempt of the Indios in overthrow the Spanish government in the Philippines. Earlier, as we said, that it is related to the 1896 Philippine Revolution, since due to the Cavite Mutiny that led to the death of GomBurZa that was witnessed by little Jose Rizal, who then wrote his novels highlighting the injustice in the Philippine society in the Spanish era, especially the El Filibusterismo that was dedicated to the three martyrdom.